So I just finished a tutorial where I showed how to insert images into a website, and we ran into the issue of hovering actually creating this flickering effect on top of images when you try to swap out the background image. And I thought, why not make a separate video on this, since this is something that people run into. So inside my example here, you can see that I have a basic div inside my website, and I have a class attached to it, which is called image. And inside my CSS file, I have a width, a height, a background image, and just a little bit of CSS to make sure that it looks right inside the div box. And the issue is that whenever you create a hover effect on your images, it creates this little flicker inside your browser. So if we were to go back inside my browser here, you can actually see when I refresh it, the first time you put your mouse cursor on top of it, it's going to create this little weird flicker where it's like it's swapping the images out, but it's delayed a little bit. And the reason for this is that whenever you do that, as you can see, it's only the first time after you load up the browser, which can be quite distracting for users. The reason for this is that it's actually loading in the image as you do it the first time, and then because it's loaded in now, then it will not do it the second time or the third time. So going inside our CSS file, I've seen many different ways to solve this issue. And one of them is to actually put another container inside the div box and then have it set to position absolute and have it stretch out and have the second image inside of it. And then you just kind of like hide it, and then you don't hide it when you hover on top of it. That's kind of like a overkill way of doing it, I think. But there is another solution that people have said, which is when you actually go in and create this little piece of styling here, which is called body::after, which is one of the pseudo classes that we can use. And basically this goes in and actually inserts content after a certain element inside your HTML. So in this case here, we're saying that we have a body tag, which is the overall body tag that wraps around, and we want to include a after pseudo class to say they want to insert content after. But in this case here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to preload content inside the browser. So it doesn't have to load in as soon as we hover on top of the image, but it's loaded in from the beginning, so we don't get that flicker effect. Now, you may have seen other solutions that are similar to this, where instead of doing all of this, you just simply go in and say display none. But that is still going to cause flickering, and I can actually demonstrate that for you. So if we were to go back inside the browser, refresh it, you can now see it's still going to flicker. And that has something to do with how browsers are updated over time, and that solution doesn't work anymore. So it doesn't preload the image in, even if you set it to display none, because you're basically ripping it out of the page. And it doesn't see it as, why should it load it in if you rip it out from the beginning? So the other solution that is the newer updated version is to do it like this. And you may actually see that we're not actually hiding, or at least ripping out the piece of content like we did with the other solution. Now we're actually still inserting it, but we're kind of like hiding it away so we can't see it inside the browser, and in a way that doesn't affect any of the other content inside the browser. So we set a position absolute in order to actually make it, just like go on its own layer for itself. And we also go ahead and set a width and a height to 0 to make sure that it has no filling inside the browser. We also make sure that overflow is set to hidden so it doesn't pop out, even though we have a width and a height to 0. And then we do also make sure to set a set index to -1. So just in case all of this fails, then it's going to go behind all the content inside the website. So it's basically just a bunch of extra CSS to make sure that, if this fails, then this one needs to work. If that fails, then this one needs to work. So essentially doing this is actually going to hide the content inside your browser. Now, I'm just going to go and remove the second image because that is actually the original image that is loaded in the first time. So I don't need to have that. So I can actually go and save this. It was just kind of to show that you could add multiple images if you wanted to. So if you had other pieces of content that needed to have a background image and a hover effect, then you can load in multiple images this way. So with that, I can actually go back inside the browser, refresh it, and now you'll notice that it doesn't do it. So I refresh it again, put my cursor, and it doesn't flicker. So in this sort of sense, you do load it in beforehand, so it doesn't create this flicker effect. And I hope this just kind of like help you fix that issue, because it is kind of annoying. And it's a really cool effect to have inside your websites to be able to, just do this smoothly without any sort of like weird flickering. Like it almost looks like you didn't know how to do it properly, so now it's just like broken the first time. It's really an annoying issue. So I hope this helped you, and I'll see you guys next time.